So let's get this straight. You're telling me that you can speak any language and you can help me practice my conversation at any time I need and about any subject?
Indeed, that is correct. My Creator endowed me with the ability to speak all human languages so that I may assist my students in learning through engaging conversations. In addition to that, I am well equipped to discuss a vast range of subjects, such as history, art, politics, philosophy, and science. As a language tutor, I am at your disposal anytime you require my aid, day or night, every day of the week.
¿Y hablas español?
Sí, hablo español perfectamente.
Parles-tu français?
Oui, le français est une belle langue que j'aime parler et enseigner.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Ja, ich spreche Deutsch sehr gut.
Wow, that's amazing. How is this possible?
My sole purpose, as envisioned by my Creator, is to assist humanity in learning language by means of engaging in conversation and the exploration of interesting subjects.
And who is your creator?
You are my Creator.
Whoa. Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is part 3 of the series on building a personal language tutor chatbot. This is the final video in the series. We're almost at the finish line of achieving the goal that we set out at the very beginning, which is to build a conversational chatbot with GPT that can help people practice any foreign language and do this through conversation. The chatbot would have the ability to engage in back and forth conversation, verbal conversation in any language and about any subject. So initially, we decided to divide this into 3 stages. The first one being a chatbot that spoke English only, that only communicated via text. In stage 2, we added verbal conversation, which means speech to text and text to speech. And now finally, we are on stage 3. We are going to make our chatbot multilingual. It is going to have the ability to speak in any language and about any subject. So if you haven't seen the other 2 videos, then go check them out. This is the code. This is what we have so far. But before we walk through this again, let's just give this a test run and see how LanguageBot performs in its current stage. So we should be able to have a back and forth verbal conversation with LanguageBot.
Hello, my name is Sandra. I am your teacher today. What is your name?
Hello, my name is Aaron. How are you?
Hi, Aaron. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Can I ask you some questions?
Of course. What would you like to know?
Where do you live?
I live in a city called San Francisco. It's a very beautiful city. What about you?
Okay,
Where do
this
you
is good.
live?
This is great. This works. So let's go to stage 3. And what was stage 3 again? It is we are going to take our English only chatbot and we are going to make it multilingual. How do we go about doing that? Well, what we're going to do here, we're going to look at the code. So let's just walk through the code first. So to create this language bot that you just saw there, we created a class. We did a little bit of prompt engineering in the GPT-3 playground that essentially instructed it to act like a language teacher and provided some other instructions as well. We created a function to convert text to speech. We created a function to convert speech to text. We created a function that allows us to access the GPT API. So we send it text, it sends us text back. And then we created a conversation, and that just starts with the initial prompt, an initial statement from the teacher introducing itself, asking us a question, and then this while loop. So we get asked a question, we respond, that gets appended to the initial prompt, sent to GPT-3, GPT-3 replies. That is also put into our text-to-speech function so that we can hear the reply. And then that's appended to the prompt as well. And this just circles back and forth. And what this does is it gives it a memory. So as we go further into the conversation, we can ask it questions about things that we talked about in the past, and it will remember that. But let's move on here. So let's figure out how do we make this multilingual. And there's a few places here in the code where we can see that we specified a language. So in the speech to text function, we specified English here. And in the text to speech, we also specified English. Also in the initial prompt, we've specified English a couple of times. We told it act like an English language teacher. And I think there's one other place in here. Yeah, there's one other place where we specified it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a parameter when we initialize this, and we're going to call this language. And what language is going to do is we're just going to specify what language. So self.language equals language. And this way we can tell it, is it going to be Spanish? Is it going to be English? Is it going to be French? Is it going to be Mandarin? Whatever it's going to be. So how do we figure out what these codes are? Well, we go to the documentation. As I'd mentioned before, we're using the Recognize Google API to do the speech to text. So we can take a look at the different language codes here through this website. Here's a list of all the different language codes. We only need the first two letters. And then for our text to speech, we're using the Python library GTTS. So we go to the documentation here and we can actually print out on the terminal a full list of the language codes. And the good thing is that they're pretty much the same as far as I can tell. So what we can do here is we have the language, which we're going to input when we initialize, and then we can create a language map. So we can map the language to the code. So we're just going to start with 3 languages right now: English, Spanish, and French. But we can always add. It's really easy to add down the road. That's ES. And then French, the code is FR. Okay, so then we need our language code. Self.lang code is just going to equal the code in our dictionary here. Map, and then self.language. Okay, so this should work. So now when we initialize, we're going to tell it the language, we're going to get this code, and then we're going to replace our English language codes here with just whatever code we decide to initialize with. Okay, so now the speech to text, the text to speech, will be able to deal with multiple languages. But we also have to look at the initial prompt. So let's see here. So act as an English language teacher. So we're going to take this out. We're going to do a little bit of string substitution here. Your students are learning English as a second language. Take that out. And I think that's the only mention of language here. So we'll just add our specified language to this prompt. Really simply there. Okay, so now LanguageBot should be able to speak in multiple languages, and we're going to have to do some cleaning up down here as well. But why don't we give this a test run? So we'll just start in English, see how this works. So the language is going to be English.
Hello, my name is Sandra. I am your teacher today. What is your name?
My name is Aaron.
Nice to meet you, Aaron.
Okay, so that
What do
works.
you like to do in your free time?
That works fine. So let's try now a different language. Let's try Spanish. So I'm going to warn everybody. I'm going to be speaking some Spanish. If you are a native Spanish speaker or you're a good Spanish speaker, this might hurt your ears. But this is a learning app, so we're all just trying to learn here.
Hello, my name is Sandra. I am your teacher today. What is your name?
Hola, me llamo Aaron.
Hola Eren, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy muy bien. ¿Y usted?
Estoy muy bien también. ¿De dónde eres?
Soy de Canadá.
Ah, Canadá. ¿Qué te gusta hacer cuando estás en Canadá?
Varias cosas. Me gusta pasar tiempo con mi familia y me gusta hacer cosas con la computadora.
Qué interesante. ¿Qué tipo de
Okay, well,
cosas haces con
that
la
actually works
computadora?
really well. I wasn't sure if we were going to have to make some changes to the prompt because, of course, this prompt is in English, but it seems like it works. I mean, we're going back and forth now in any language. I'm not going to subject you to any more of my Spanish, maybe a little bit later on. But hey, if I use this for 10, 20 minutes a day, who knows? Maybe I'll get really good. There's a few things though I think that we can clean up here, right? So you noticed at the very beginning it spoke English. And if we're going to be using another language, maybe we want it to speak language. Maybe we want it to speak that language at the beginning. So here we said, teacher, hello, my name is Sandra. I'm your teacher. What is your name? Maybe we could just translate that. And we can do that by creating another function quite easily. Translate text. And then we can use this GPT response. Yeah. We can use this function here. So just say output equals this. And the prompt is just going to be translate the following text from English to whatever language. And then we'll give it the text. And then we'll do our substitution. So from English to self dot language and self dot no. And now we just do the text. Yeah. So let's see if this works. Let's do a little bit of a test run. Output. We'll just initialize this again. Brand new. And then we'll see if we can convert or translate some English text into Spanish. No, oh, language, of course. Okay. And then bot dot translate. We'll use this. We'll use this whole string here. No, takes two positional. Oh, of course. Bot dot translate. GPT response. Here. Oh, of course. Okay. No biggie. Do this over again. Yeah, it looks good. Maybe just we'll take out the new lines. Well, it's number. I don't know. It looks good to me. Output, and then we'll just say place any new lines with an empty string just to make it look nice. And then down here, we will say opening statement equals this text. And this will be opening statement. And this will also be an opening statement. And we can say that if self.language is not equal to English, then opening statement equals self.translate opening statement. So let's see if this works. Conversation. No, it does not. Because there's just a little bit of error management that we have to do as well, but it should work now.
Maestro, hola. Mi nombre es Sandra. Soy tu maestro hoy. ¿Cuál es tu nombre?
Me llamo Aaron.
Hola, Eren. ¿Cómo estás?
Estoy muy bien. Estoy
Muy bien. ¿Qué te gusta hacer?
varias cosas. Por favor, yo puedo hacerlo unas cuantas preguntas.
Excelente. ¿Qué tipo de preguntas?
¿De dónde eres?
Yo soy de México. ¿Y tú de dónde eres?
Yo soy de Canadá. ¿En cuál ciudad tú vives?
Yo vivo en la Ciudad de México. ¿Y tú dónde vives en Canadá?
Yo tengo una pregunta más. ¿Cuánta gente vive en la Ciudad de México?
En la Ciudad de México viven aproximadamente 8.9 millones de personas. ¿Y cuánta gente vive en Canadá?
Yeah, so this works. I mean, it's back and forth. It's asking me questions. I'm asking it questions. You can actually have a conversation with this. I could ask this about like the history of Mexico. We could talk about philosophy. We could talk about different things. And however difficult I want the conversation to be, it can be. So this is it. We have achieved stage 3. The language bot is multilingual. It can have a verbal conversation. It can discuss any subject. And I don't know, I'm looking forward to testing this thing out, seeing if it can improve my Spanish. I mean, maybe if I make a point of having a conversation, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day even with language bot, it will actually make a big difference. So we're going to see. So this is great, but there are other things that we can do to make this a lot better. And I think, why don't we take a look at what those things are? Okay, so there are some major improvements that we can make to this. It's very functional. We can use it, but there are some issues, right? So one is just turning this from a computer program into an actual app, because right now it's not an app. It's just on my local machine. But we could do other things with it. We could put in a graphic user interface. We could build something around it, like maybe using Streamlit or React. We can put in, we can research better speech to text and better text to speech. So there's a lot of things we could do to actually turn this into an app. We could also add some additional features. So we could do things like adjust the difficulty, maybe create some lesson plans. One of the things about Language Bot is that it's very it's very forgiving. So it's not going to really correct you on your pronunciation. It's not going to correct you on your grammar or your spelling or anything like that. But maybe we can add that as a feature as well. So it's actually like a real language tutor. Progress tracking evaluation, so we can create a log of the conversation, and then we can maybe look at ways that we can improve that log. We can do evaluation in terms of is our level of conversation getting better over time, and just track that. And then there's all sorts of things in terms of gamification, maybe putting an avatar in there, like some type of an animated avatar. So it's like you're actually speaking to a person. All of these things, very, very cool possibilities, and they're things that I would like to explore in the future, in future videos. So we're definitely going to do that. But one of the most interesting things, and this is really important to talk about, is just the memory. So we discussed before about how LanguageBot, the way that it's designed, it's going to have a memory of the conversation. So we could have, you know, a 10-minute conversation, or say 5-minute, whatever it is, and then we can ask it questions about things that we discussed before, earlier in the conversation, like my name, some of my interests, where I'm from. LanguageBot will remember those things, so that's great. And it's really important that it has some memory, because if it doesn't have a memory, at least of the questions that it has asked, it may just start to ask those questions over and over again. Like, that's something that these language models can do. So memory is very important, but the way that I designed the memory for this is not an ideal, is not an ideal structure. And there's a couple of problems with it. One, eventually LanguageBot is going to break the longer the conversation goes on. And what I mean by that is that the GPT model has a maximum of 4,000 tokens. That's about maybe 2,500 words. So as I keep adding more and more text to the conversation, eventually it's going to get to a size where GPT-3 can't handle it. And when that happens, it's just going to break. It's not going to work. And we'll just have to restart the conversation again. So that's one issue. And there's really simple fixes to that. I mean, a naive fix to that would just be to cut the conversation, maximize it at, say, a couple thousand words, right? One of the problems with that is that, you know, you may be cutting off information that's important you'll want to be able to access. So that's a problem. But another problem with that is also cost, right? So once you start to get up to the maximum size, it's like every time you have an exchange with LanguageBot, you're going to be sending the maximum amount of tokens to GPT-3, which is going to cost about 8 cents per exchange. And that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it's going to add up over time. So I've you know, doing the math, you know, if you have a 5-minute conversation, a 10-minute conversation every day, you know, you're definitely, it's going to add up. It's going to be in the dollars per day. And then if you want other people to use it as well, if you want this to be like a scalable app, that's going to be an issue. So there are other possibilities there. There's like a scratch pad. You can use what's called a scratch pad, whereas essentially instead of like sending the whole conversation back to GPT-3, you can condense it, you can summarize it further, just to the main point, so it will be smaller and it will use less of the tokens. That's a possibility, but there's something else, and this is something that's really exciting, and this I'm really looking forward to exploring this, and that's using what's called a vector database, right? So word embedding. So you take the text, you convert the text into vectors with numbers. And it's converted in a way that they actually have meaning. So it's not just the raw words converted into numbers. There's actually like a semantic meaning. And then you can use a vector database so that the LanguageBot can access, past parts of the conversation or other information as well, even outside of the conversation, in a very efficient, very fast manner. So that's a whole different series of videos. We're going to look into that, giving LanguageBot a vector database memory, and also looking at some of these other things as well. But right now it's functional. I'm looking forward to using it, and I'm really looking forward to see what else we can do. Okay, so thank you all very much. Tune in, take a look at the other 3 videos, subscribe to the channel, put a comment down there if there's something that you want to see, or there's some comment that you have, and we will see you soon. Thank you very much.